Hi everyone, my name is Guto Ríos, and I'm going to take a self-description for inclusive purpose. I'm a curious engineer with a light brown hair, green eyes, brown skin, wearing a pinky shirt, showing on the front of the dark gray background. I'm a member of the CTTC Region 12 at Ashrae. We are here to talk about how to create the best Ashrae bio for you. So, welcome to this relaxed and informative chat, our Let's Talk. Today, we have the opportunity to delve into a relevant and stimulating topic, the significance of bioprofiles within Ashray. We are joined by three special guests. So, the first one, welcome for our Vice President of Society, Wade Conlan. Hey, Wade, how are you? Welcome here.
Thanks for having me today, Guto. This is awesome. Appreciate it.
Nice one. So you have our Director and Regional Chair, DRC, of Ashrae Region 12, John Constantinide. Hey, John, welcome.
Thank you for inviting me.
Nice one. And you have the Regional Vice Chair at Ashrae Region 12, our Keiron Nanan. Hello,
Hey,
Keiron. How
Guto.
are you?
Not too bad. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you, man. Thank you a lot. So let's get started. I would like to start with our Vice President, Wade. Wade, how does Ashray help its members stand out in the HVACNR industry?
Yeah, I mean, it's a question that has a lot of different answers, and it depends on what your background is and what you're studying or what part of the HVAC are in our industry that you're a part of, right? Whether you're a design engineer or whether you're a sales rep or whether you're part of the manufacturers who are creating things, contractors that are putting things together, and then what I do, I'm a commissioning provider, so I'm actually trying to make systems work properly. And what Ashray really provides for all those different entities is an absolute wealth of knowledge in terms of guidance via the handbooks, guidelines, which are best practices, standards, which is code language for a lot of different topics. There are a lot more standards and guidelines than people realize, and then the amount of information that are in our handbooks. In addition to that, the training opportunities through ALI courses, through the chapter monthly technical meetings that each one of our chapters puts on to try and help their local engineering community and built environment community learn. And so there are so many avenues for someone to learn about the HVAC in our industry and learn more, right? I'm 28 years into my career and I still learn something new every day, every week that I didn't know before. And that's the great part about this industry. There is so much to learn, and ASHRAE has so much information and so much available. And then I think one of the bigger benefits is the relationships. I've known John since he was a student, right? Talking about ASHRAE stuff, looking at engineering projects, doing that kind of things. And so I've known John for a very long time. So the people that I know worldwide. So the relationships that I've built, the friends that I've made that are in this industry really gives you a wide reach. So if you come up against something that you haven't dealt with, chances are you know someone who's actually worked in that in area and worked in that portion of HVAC and R. And so it really provides you those connections. So ASHRAE is absolutely phenomenal, organization for people in our industry to not only learn more, but to learn more people.
Oh, that's a beautiful one. And in that line, I think it's a good way to know what you are doing and what you did. It's fulfilling the part of the bill on the Ashray on your sign when you sign up, you have the your profile to fulfill. So, John, could you help us and enlighten us with that part of our bill and how can Region 12 help?
So, the important part of the biography is to give a story about yourself. So, every face, every person of Ashray has a story. Wade, right there, gave a story of how he was in Ashray, how he moved up, what he worked on. He knew me as a student. He interacted with people. And that interaction, those activities that you do, create a story. But many times people do not think about documenting that story. And Ashrae does. Ashrae thinks documenting that story is very important. And it's important for many reasons. One, it provides a pathway to understand where that person will go. Because if we do not know where that person has been and where they are, it's very hard to understand where they will go. And more importantly, where they will go to fit best to serve humanity and the industry. Two, awards and recognition for what the person has done. So the story may merit recognition, whether as a fellow member, as a Hightower Award recipient, or a Chapter Service Award. So that is important as well. And third, it's for an evaluation of appointments as well. So it's not just a matter of nominating for elected positions, but also for appointments. And it may be by the president-elect, it may be by the chapter president, it may be by the DRC. So at the end of the day, the bio is a story, a documented, written story of that Ashrae member, what they've done, who they've been with, where they've been, and how they contributed. And it's very important for Region 12 to know and to complete that story, because sometimes they need to write and add to it. It's not just Ashrae. And that's Ashrae is run by volunteers. So as volunteers, we need to put in the effort and the time to create that story for us and to communicate the story we want.
A nice one. Thank you, John. And for you, Keiron, what do you see of the significance of young engineers actively engaging with Ashrae for beginning on their career?
So this is an interesting question. One key factors for engaging from the get-go and coming in from students as well, moving into EA, is that they start getting the experience, the networking, and the exposure. A lot of the people, senior people, they have the technical expertise, and that technical expertise brings back into the networking. So if they have questions, a curious young mind would be able to ask someone who is senior to, to ask them questions and get the answers that they're looking for. And that is a resource for them to build themselves as a professional. As a young person myself, we don't know everything, but we continue to learn every day. So that's one thing that Ashrae brings to you, that networking and that gets to know. And besides that, getting to participate in technical committees, even though you are not a very technical person, you can do that from a young age and going to these meetings, attending these meetings, just listening, being a part of the conversation or being in the room allows you to get that exposure as well.
Nice one, Keiron. Thank you. John's already talked about some positive impacts for having a good bio profile on Ashrae, to see how it goes, what you did before and goals after. Wait, I just want to know if you can add something or add some points. What are the positive impacts of having a completed profile on Ashrae, and what Ashrae can bring of career opportunities? A little bit more. What about John?
Yeah, no,
Let's say.
we can add on to what John already offered up in terms of your Ashrae bio, right? Your biography is you the importance of it comes into play in many times. So when you go to ask to be on certain standing project committees, right? So the committee that writes standards, you have to provide your background. And so when they go to evaluate individuals for that background, and so, I actually see if I can pull it up here really quick. Sorry about that. Ashrae Standard 241, right? So the people that submitted to be on that standard, such as myself, if your bio is current and you show relative experience, whether it's speaking engagements, technical committee activity, or for my case, sharing environmental health, your completed bio paints the picture of what your expertise is. And so the people that are going through to pick who's going to be on that roster for a standing project committee or a guideline project committee or a research project, those sorts of things, as well as other committees such as TAC or standards, that bio comes into play in terms of who are they going to select, because they want to select industry experts when they're doing that. Another piece that comes into play, and as a society vice president, I was able to go to the appointments committee meeting that occurred this past spring, and that's where the president-elect, because there's a lot of positions where the president-elect is appointing members to those different committees. Your bio plays a big part in that. There's certain things that you need to show in your bio that, there's a lot of shalls and shoulds. Shalls being, you must have been this position. Should is, it'd be great if you had this position. So when you get down to it and you're trying to evaluate different people, you can look through their bio and say, hey, do they really have this background? Do they have some expertise that can offer it into it? I've also been fortunate enough to sit on nominating. The nominating process, that's where your society president-elect, treasurer, vice presidents, directors at large, directors and regional chairs. And when you're looking through those individuals, right, when you get to that point in your career, your bio is attached to every single time for people to be able to evaluate. If you hadn't met me and you didn't know me, right? Take John, for instance. I'm some other region, I've never met John. And now I've got to look and say, is John up for being a director at large? I know he's a director and regional chair, but well, you shall have chaired a standing committee for Ashrae that reports to Tech Council or Pub Ed. John, which one did you chair?
I actually chaired a building EQ.
There you go. So building EQ. I know John did that, so I'm just asking so John can confirm. But from that standpoint, if I didn't know John, that's on his bio. That checks the box of that shall. And so I can look at other things because I know he's been involved with TCs. I know he's been subcommittee chair. Not sure if you've been a TC chair, but I know you've been involved in, yes, he has. So there you go. That would all show on the bio. So when you're going to evaluate person A versus person B that you don't know personally when you're in those roles, it gives you the insight of to what their background is. What leadership roles have they held, right? It's great to be on the committees, but you want leadership roles when you're picking those leaders. And so that completed bio helps. Now, I'm also the Central Florida Chapter Honors and Awards Chair. That bio is critical for the awards that John talked about. So whether you're getting your Chapter Service Award, your Regional Award of Merit, the Distinguished Service Award, or the Exceptional Service Award, that bio, it has to be in the bio. And so while Ashrae does populate it, John may note, you have to go and add your certain things, right? Keiron was just involved in our regional CRC. That's not going to auto-populate onto his bio, but he needs to put that role on there because that goes towards getting different awards. So that complete bio gets looked at more than people realize. And it's important that it's complete and well-rounded. Put in the projects that you're talking about. Put in the fact that you're bilingual. I am not. John is, right? Spanish and English. It should be on his bio. That's important because we're an international society. We have people that speak 4 and 5 languages. That's critical. That person is going to be a lot more useful and helpful and engaging with other chapters and regions of our society. So that completed, well-rounded bio gets used a lot more than people realize. And so really advocate for people to make sure that they update it with the things that they've done.
A nice one. Nice to hear from you that part of evaluating and in a constant way of evaluating our bio and our participation on chapter, region, and even society. John, let me ask you, how does Ashrae align with the larger organization's goals while addressing the unique challenges and opportunities of its local chapters?
So Ashrae looks at the big picture, but they also look at their members. So they align with the big picture in that they realize they have partner organizations. They have organizations in the United States, U.S. Green Building Council, like National Fire Protection Association, American Institute of Architects, but also they have what they call a group of HVAC and refrigeration associations all throughout the world, the AASA or the Ashrae Associates Society Alliance. And these are national HVAC and R associations in various countries. Say, for example, in Colombia, we have ACAIRE, or in Brazil, you have Abrava. And then in South Brazil, even, there's a geographic HVAC and R association just for that era, Asbrav. And
Asbrav, yeah.
we can keep, listing all these associations, not just in our region, but all over the world. So Ashrae looks at those from the big picture standpoint of partnerships, of collaborations, of making sure that we do the work together. But then they also look at their chapters and say, what can we do as members? Because members, yes, they may be involved on the technical side, but they're also involved in disseminating technology. So once the work is done with standard project committees, technical committees, handbook subcommittees, etc., it needs to go somewhere. Otherwise, all the work just collects dust on the shelves. And that's where the chapters engage the people and talk to people, and the dialogue and the networking and communication happens. So all of that is very important. And then to circle it back to what does that make sense in the Ashrae bio? Well, the Ashrae bio may paint the picture that says you are a content developer. You help develop the standards. You develop handbook chapters, or you administer research projects. It shows that you have a specialty of sorts. You created that expertise through the volunteer work you've done, and your employment may support that as well. So that then leads you to positions like that, or it may challenge the society to say, well, let's put them in a certain position that will broaden their experience. Likewise, if someone is very experienced with member engagement, they may show that in their bio, but then they may be challenged to look at the content creating side of Ashrae to see where that content comes from, so they are more cognizant, and then they can be more empowered and effective in that future member outreach. So the bio, again, creates the story, but also creates opportunities for people to see where they can grow broader and deeper.
Very nice. And I think it's not only the technical skills that counts. Soft skills are counting too, or incentivate, or somehow incentivate by Ashrae. Is that true, John?
That is. So our distinguished lecturer program is a great program where you have expert speakers talk about not just technical topics, but soft skills that are needed by engineers in particular. Because being Ashrae, the lecturer program is for us. Others may use it as well, but it's primarily for chapters. So you may have communications about engineering. You may have networking in a room, how to work the room. You may have resume building, resume writing, how to interview for a job. And these you can apply to other industries, but we care about the built environment industry, the buildings industry. So that tends to be more of the slant that those soft skills talks will look at. But we still have the common needs that all professionals have.
And we do have a Region 12 tie to some of those soft skills. Our very own Pam Duffy is a distinguished lecturer on the soft skills. She was a UCF student. She helped here in Central Florida with a chapter. So she was part of Region 12 at one point. Now she's part of Region 8. But from a standpoint is, Ashrae kind of creates that small community. But for those soft skills, we're having her come back to our chapter this year. She loves it because she's getting to come home for a presentation. So
a nice one, Wade, and all that experience and living and skills will put all together and fulfill the profile in Ashrae profile, as I say. Keiron, and what learn and develop opportunities does Ashrae offer to young engineers through their profiles?
So through their Ashrae bios and the profile that you have to complete, we touched on it and John also touched on it. We can give you awards based on your service towards your chapter. So this year, Region 12 has three members from Region 12 that are getting Develop Leaders Awards. We are starting to work on the other society awards for nominations as well, based on your bios. So it is point system updating your bio with things that you do during your chapter years is important because we need your bios to fill out the paperwork, check our boxes in no nicer terms. But in soft skills, we have seen that the region has improved on some of their soft skills based on Let's Talk and these things of information sharing. But we also see that Ashrae Society is now bringing in DLs to improve on soft skills as well. Um, what we have seen from the region point is that much more professionals or senior persons are sharing information, and that is one of the key factors for improvements for young engineers. Um, and that's the main thing. I hope I answered that question correctly. I
Do
hope
you
I
have
answered
some
your question correctly.
Do you have some tips for fulfilling the profile, or some tips for each line that you recommend, or anything?
So I recently sat with one of our Region 12 members. He asked me to help him, give him some assistance in updating his bio. And when we went through, I was like, okay, cool, no problem. Let's look at this. Let's see what happens. And he didn't realize some of the areas that he can add to his bio, like projects that he's worked on. I was like, okay, have you done this type of project, this type of project, and this type of project? He's like, yeah, but I didn't think I can add it there. I'm like, no, please add it there. Please ensure that you add it there. And we had to update his soft skills because he has a lot of soft skills. And I had to tell him, this that you're doing here must tell the story of the person that I know. This has to be for someone who doesn't know you at all, but can read this and say, "Oh, this guy is good at cooking, and he plays golf, and he can kick a football, and he's done this, and he can pick up garbage in the beach and walk his dogs and do all of these things." But then he can also install controls and give some feedback and teach some students some soft skills, or work on some with some primary school kids on science projects. I was like, okay, we have to make sure that people know that you do these things, that it is in your bio, because your bio tells the story of who you are for those who don't know you.
Nice one. Nice one. Nice tips. I'm just taking some notes here. Thank you so much.
No
So,
problem.
wait, do you think that digital age somehow influence in the way of Ashrae members' profiles, and how it contributes to the to industry's growth and innovation?
I will assume that you're asking me that not because of my age, because
No,
as
no,
Keiron knows, I'm old.
no. It's because of your position as a vice
No,
president.
no, no. So no, seriously, Guto, there's an inside joke between Keiron and I. I am
We
old.
have the same age, man.
Um,
Don't worry.
no, I'm 51 years old. I've been in Ashrae since 1992, 1993 as a student member. So I've been in Ashrae for quite a long time. The digital age is interesting because at one point, all these records were maintained on paper. And so you would have to submit things to Ashrae, and then they went electronic. And when they went electronic, they started transitioning and putting information in. And some information made it. A lot of information did not make it. And so when you start to look at individuals in your chapter, if you're trying to give them honors and awards, or if you're trying to select them for different things, we have people in Central Florida that their bio doesn't show that they were the chapter president. My records do. I know they were. And they were a lot of different committee chairs, and they did a lot of different things over their time. And because it was paper based, when it went electronic, a lot of those items went away. And so there's a lot of individuals that aren't, their bio, they're older, isn't complete. And it's tough. There's a lot of really great individuals that could be getting awards or doing different things if their bio is complete, but someone needs to reach out to them and try and have them do that. And in this digital age, what's important is right now everyone assumes, right, everything auto populates and you've got all my passcodes and I just look in my eyeballs and then you've got everything you need about me. And so it's automatically done. And so even the younger generation needs to realize there's still some manual intervention, right? So all the tips that Keiron was giving you are great, right? If you did leadership weekend, or if you did leadership U or leaders, or if you did a beach cleanup, and that's not on your bio, then no one knows it occurred because it's not on your bio. And those are the things when you're looking at different individuals, that if I had to look between individual A and individual B, and they both had different committee work, but one told me the different presentations that they've done, or the beach cleanups they've done, or the sustainability projects, or the teaching K through 12, their interaction in those different things, mentoring, student design, all of those sort of things on their bio. You know what that tells you? It tells you that there's someone who is trying to give back. They're a leader. They're trying to help. They're also trying to help themselves by learning more, meeting new people. Who are you going to choose? The person who's got a technical resume, but doesn't appear to have the people skills, the soft skills, and all the other parts and pieces that go to making that great leader that can inspire others to do more. And so it sounds like a really weird answer to say, does this digital age hurt us? And it's, for some individuals, it did, because their bios aren't current. For other individuals, they just assume everything's automatic, so I don't need to go and enter it. And in Keiron's plea, my plea, John will say the same thing. Please enter those bits and pieces of information. There's a lot of little things that we all do to help Ashrae, to help our community, to help our country, to help our state, help our environment. Putting it down on your bio actually helps. It builds a nice picture of who you are for when your bio does get access. So even though in the digital age, it's still, there's still human interaction for these. And so please update your bio, and if you're not sure if it should go on your bio, put it on your bio. And the best part about it is email it to John or Keiron or myself or Tuli or any leaders of Region 12, and we'll give you feedback. Hey, yeah, let's rephrase this. Let's call this something different. Or, hey, what is this? And, oh, this should really go into this section. So,
Nice
yeah.
one. Nice tip. And nice kind of engaging, bringing people more closely. So, John, decided, and how can we interact with more experienced engineers in Ashrae positively impact the trajectory of the engineers or our associates?
Yeah, I know. So there's a lot of positive, if you will, benefits with that interaction between the more professional, we don't want to say old, we want to say the more professional, the experienced, the wiser, and those who seek knowledge, those who seek the wisdom, the young, the desiring. There's a lot that can be shared. I would say the Distinguished Lecturer Program is a great example. And we do have many young engineers in Ashrae who are distinguished lecturers, but you also have fellows, presidential members who have had many, many years of experience in industry who are distinguished lecturers who offer that. So I think the experience offering, interacting and offering their insight with the young, it's really what engineering is about, because engineering has been built on an apprenticeship model. That is really how the professional engineer license model is based on, where you have the licensed engineer mentor the engineer in training or engineer intern, whatever they decide to call it in each state or jurisdiction. And that's a form of apprenticeship. It's not just taking a test and knowing, but it's experiencing, it's being guided, it's being given more responsibility over time. So Ashrae facilitates that through this gradual increase of responsibility and understanding, and letting positions speak to or call for the person rather than the person pursuing the position. Because at the end of the day, it's all about the person's growth. The person is not for the work is for the person. So when we volunteer, we need to ask ourselves, is my volunteer work going to be for me and for others that I serve, or am I just doing it with no benefit, to no avail? So I think having that experience, that transfer, facilitates part of that overall objective of building up our industry, building up the future, and also continuing the institutional knowledge that we have in engineering.
Nice one. And Ashrae has that global preoccupation. I think that's the word. And our president Scoggins has that tackling environmental, tackling the global. I don't know the specific words of it. I just record the tackling of the global warming or something like that, and it's a beautiful job, and it's a beautiful to contribute to be and to get a better place for us. And Keiron, and do you think that Ashrae assists the young engineer in finding mentors and mentorships, like Wade just said? You can, it's open to send email for experience, like John said, experience. Wade, what did you say, John? Not experience engineer, but
It's so the wiser,
wiser
we don't want
engineers.
the experience, not the age, not the
Not
old.
the
I
age,
mean,
not
so
the age.
Keiron, if Wade is experienced, what does that make you?
So Wade has been a member of Ashrae for as long as I've been born. That's the funny part about this. Maybe 2 years or 3 years off, but Wade's been a member of Ashrae since I've been a toddler.
And
So,
proudly so.
yes, very probably so. So can you repeat the question since I cracked the joke and my brain is flipping?
I'm gonna start wearing my student member pin just when I'm around Keiron.
Please do. So,
I just
so
ask if you think that Ashrae assists a young engineer in finding mentors and mentorships, if you have some kind of program or some kind of action that you have to make to engage the young engineers with the more wiser ones.
so I would say definitely yes.
Sorry.
Definitely yes. And that just from personal experience for myself. Um, if I have a question, I have a resource of people that I can pull and ask a question to. If I have a concern, also I have a pool of people that I can go send a WhatsApp to, and people within Region 12 and people outside of Region 12 as well. I have that resource. So yes, it does bring you that resource of expertise and mentor-mentee programs. There is an official one that is coming on stream from me where we are trying to work together to get senior persons to mentor younger persons. Some chapters have adopted where members of the chapter mentor student members and work with them. It comes down to a chapter basis. But I mean, Wade, myself, John, we always are wrong if anyone asks us a question or WhatsApp. Quickest way to get to me is WhatsApp. Shoot me on WhatsApp and I'll respond to you with the best answer that I could possibly say to you. Or if I can't answer you, I'll say, hey, hold on a second, let me shoot you a contact with someone who can answer your question for you. So Ashrae does have that resourcefulness of a mentor-mentee program, whether it's official or unofficial. You ask someone with the experience a question, they will definitely answer you. And that is one of the key factors and the beauty of Ashrae is that we have that level of comfort with each other that we can ask questions to one another. So
Nice one. Nice one.
Just to add on to that, Guto, well, the unofficial one is when you're on technical committees or whether you're trying to learn about a certain technical aspect and you go to a technical committee, right there you've got 20, 30, 50 members that that they're trying to help others because they're working on Ashrae handbooks and standards and guides. They're going to be willing to help and talk to young engineers and answer questions. And so that resource, that unofficial mentoring resource is there all through Ashrae on the technical side. The official side, and this is what I think Ye is still trying to figure out and work around a little, is that, Ashrae is an organization of members. And those members are employees of different companies. And those different companies all come together. And so when you're sitting at a table with your fellow Ashrae individuals in my chapter, typically I'm sitting at the table with 3 and 4 competitors of mine where we're doing the same work or trying to go for the same work. You're setting that to the side. And so some of the companies, some of the members, some of the people are trying to be cognizant of what kind of mentorship are you providing, and are you making sure that it stays as a mentor-mentee relationship, because trying to find young talent is tough, and trying to find young talent that's engaged with trying to learn more and do more is tougher. And so there's a fine line that Ashrae and the Yay program is going to have to walk, is to make sure that the employers are buying into and okay with the relationships that are being established. And maybe that's making sure that those individuals are coming from different walks of the HVAC in our industry. So, but that mentoring has occurred for me since day one, and which, you know, as we know, Keiron was a toddler, so it's been many, many years.
Yeah.
I don't think so. That's so many years.
And one of the cool factors for on one of the programs that we've heard from the EA aspect that has worked is the Ireland chapter has set up a mentor-mentee program, and we are working with them to basically iron out any of the creases that we had previously to hopefully roll out the mentor-mentee program within the next 6 months to 1 year, once we get all of the issues sorted out. Region 12, we have a lot of good mentors. We always look for good mentees as well, and that's the one key factor is each chapter can probably look at mentoring someone who's younger.
Yeah. And that's not young to old, and that's not old to young all the time. There's individuals in our region and throughout Ashrae that are at my experience level, that I'll get a phone call on. Hey, you really do a lot of this type of work. Yeah, let me, and I'll answer them just as much as when I have a question about what they're doing. And so it doesn't have to be this age difference. This technical mentorship is really, really a huge benefit. And tying it back to your bio, the more information you have on your bio, the more people may know that you'd be an expert in this area. So,
and just to jump back to one of the things that Wade mentioned previously about being on technical committees, when I became Ashrae president for my CARICOM chapter in 2018, when I went to the annual meeting in 2019 January, I went to my first technical committee meeting because that was first experience for me, and that same TC, the experience that was in the room, I was like, oh my god, I feel so stupid inside of here, and now I am one of their voting members on the committee, and I work with codes and standards for them as well. And that is 5 years later. So, sitting in the room, getting them to share information with me, giving them my technical expertise, I now sit as a voting member there and a quorum voting member as well. So just going, sitting in the room, everyone in those TCs share information, and we need you to join TCs because those are also added to your bios as well, and gives you points for awards. And it also makes you, if you are very active in your TCs, then you can also move up like I did from a provisional correspondent member to a correspondent member to now a voting member with quorum votes. So it's also very important to be active there in TCs for your bio.
Oh, nice one. So let's we are coming to our finish to finish our Let's Talk. Yeah, about 40 minutes. It's beautiful when we start to talk and have a chat, and it's a pleasure to be with you guys. So last question for each one, same question, I think. I'm going to start with Keiron, then John, then at last but not at least, né? Something like that. Wait. So exactly. Keiron, can you point some specific skills that bring you to become a regional vice chair, or that you think that help you to become a regional vice chair?
That's a tough question for me, because I think one of the you need to be involved. Your bio needs to show your involvement. You need to be active in what's in your chapter. You need to be able to take information in, give information out, and be open to communication. That's one of the most key factors in this in updating your bios. Your bio must tell your story. You must tell your story as well, and you have to be very active and get the job done. If you don't get the job done and it's on your bio, that reflects something else as well. So it's a twofold. You have to have it on your bio and actually do it. Um, so your activity shows if you are active, and we see all of these regional awards that come out as well. If you are very active, then those things that add to your bio as well. So it gives you that upper edge and why you need to be there. Um, that's it for me.
Nice one. Thank you so much for sharing. John, same question, but how can we become a DRC regional director, and what can you point some specific skills or experience that you have that
Yeah,
help you to become a regional DRC?
I would say, jokingly, you need to be willing to just, cede over a significant portion of your life to to the work of Ashrae. But more seriously, I would say people who are aware. Awareness is really what a good DRC does. And it's just a matter of being aware of how to be better. So it's listening, aware of the needs. So looking and aware of the cultures, the language. And it really depends. People who are in the United States, they address differences in membership between chapters differently than those outside the United States. But there are always going to be differences between engineers. So it's a matter of awareness. How does one bring people together, bring that consensus? And Wade can tell you, as a former director at large, having sat on standards committees, that he needs awareness to bring consensus on publishing a standard. It's a different type of awareness, but it's still an awareness nonetheless. So in the DRC's case, it's more of a personal awareness or an interpersonal awareness. So that's what I think is very important there.
Nice one. Thank you, so John. And wait, same question, but in your case, né, how to become a vice president of Ashrae Society? What if you
Yeah,
can
I've had some time to
point the
think since.
skills?
Yeah, I've had some time to think since John and Keiron answered their version. So jokingly, I need to learn how to not say the word seem or see or yes, right? That's the part of where you have to be volunteering and be active. And Keiron hit on the head. Is part of this is doing what you said you were going to do. And then the more that you do that, the more that you get asked to do. Because John talked about it, is the position seeks the person doesn't seek the position. And so the more that you accomplish, the more that you do, those positions tend to land at your feet. From a perspective of society vice president, there's a long run up to that and some of it is we on this call of the three of us have done, right? Being a chapter president. I was a chapter president at one point. I was a regional chair, meaning I was appointed for different things. But at the society level, I did a lot of technical committee work, standards project committee work, chair of environmental health committee. Well, those are the things that showed that I was a leader on the technical side that allowed me to be asked by others, would I be willing to serve if nominated as a director at large? And when I said yes to that, my name went into the hopper for the pink bingo balls to get pulled out. But from that standpoint, it goes into nominating, and then nominating uses that bio to say, who do we think should fall into this position? And each year there's 3 directors at large and 1 director at large alternate. And so there's 53,000 people in Ashrae. And so your bio really has to tell that story that Keiron was really, tell your story. Who are you? And when those people are sitting and nominating and they're selecting a slate of officers, they're selecting different positions, they're using that bio to say that. And so being in those different positions, being on those roles, building relationships, because there's people that I know that were in nominating or that have served on committees with me, but I try not to look at who's on nominating. So there's using personal relationships plus your bio. And that's part of where you're going. Now, for society vice president, to become society vice president, there's a box to check, which is you've been a director at large or you've been a director and regional chair. So John's going to be open and be able to, in a year or so, to put his name in if he's willing to become a society vice president. But part of that comes to nominating, right? So you're looking, there's 4 vice presidents. They only name 2 a year, 53,000 members. It's very surreal. It's still very flattering and a little bit unbelievable that I'm a society vice president, that the people in nominating have the trust in my abilities, my capabilities, my vision for what Ashrae should be, and making decisions on Ashrae for the entire society was sound enough that they said, sure, yeah, we want Wade to be a vice president. And so it's very, very flattering that they chose that. And so, but it all comes back to that career long things that you're doing for Ashrae, that you're delivering on, as Keiron noted, that you're volunteering for. And, the thing that John's talking about, a very well-rounded with all the different parts and pieces that comes into play, because when you're sitting on the board, which a director does, you're thinking of all 53,000 members, not just your region, not just your chapter, not just your area. When you become vice president, it's very much the same thing. Treasurer, president-elect, president. And so Madam President Ginger Scoggins has been through all of these roles, and she's got her the society theme, which is also kind of known as the presidential theme of challenge accepted, tackling the climate crisis. That's because that was a passion of hers, and she developed that concept and is trying to get people to rally around that. The people that are in those positions should be forward thinking. They should be people that can lead, can actually get people to follow and to do things. I mean, Ashrae is a volunteer organization. When you're looking at your leaders, you want them to be able to actually inspire people, lead people, whether it's tactical, strategic, etc. You're looking for those sorts of things because you're trying to advance Ashrae. Because as Ashrae advances, guess what happens? The built environment advances. And when the built environment enhances, we actually start to tackle climate change or indoor air environmental quality or workforce development. Or when you look at our society themes, you can see that as we get better, we start handling those things inherently. And so it all drives back to trying to find the right people for those positions. And the way they do that is through relationships, which means you're active and you're involved in doing things. But it comes down to nominating. And that body answers to the body of Ashrae. They do not answer to the board or anyone else. And they evaluate people based on their capabilities, their abilities, what they've completed, what they've accomplished, what they volunteered for, what their passions are. And all of that gets reflected in your bio. And so from that standpoint, what did I do to become society vice president? Lucky. I became lucky. I got on a lot of great committees. I met a lot of phenomenal people. I've created great friendships. And I have so much fun when it comes to Ashrae. But I've also been able to be strategic and actually operational and get things done and have things be completed. And then have people have that trust in you. When I got nominated, to be society vice president, I had someone come up to me and said, a lot of people love you. It's I'm getting goosebumps right now. That's a really profound and impacting statement. 53,000 people has a nominating group. That nominating group felt that I was qualified to help lead the charge. It's awesome, but it takes work to get there and it takes effort to get there, but it's completely, I'm getting more than I can ever give back in this role. The amount of things that I've seen this year and been able to be a part of and help with, it gives you that satisfaction. We're all volunteers. And jokingly, I started with saying is I could not say, not use the word seem or see or yes, right? There is a balance point. You got to make sure you can actually deliver on what you're saying. So no is a word that we need to learn and use, But for the most part, when you accomplish the things that you accomplish, those opportunities come to you. And those opportunities come to you because people see what you're doing. Hey, how would you like to be X? I know I personally reached out to John at one point. I was like, hey, are you up for becoming a director at large? You've got the chops for it. You've got the vision for it. He went the director and regional chair route, which is fantastic because he's still able to provide that and help our region. So it's one of those things. People will recognize what you're doing. So yeah,
Very nice.
hopefully
Very
hopefully that answers the question. And if you haven't learned by now, update your bio. It helps quite a bit. And please continue to say yes.
nice one. Thank you, Wade. Thank you, John. Thank you, Keiron. So let's someone need or want to speak a little bit before we ending. Keiron, something to say or add or something?
I would just like to say this.
Yeah.
It's gracias, obrigado, thank you. Guto, thank you for putting this on. Thank you for putting the effort, the intro, the screens, my Christmas ornament wrecking ball, all of the questions, the time that you're putting into it. Thank you. You know why? Because you are helping others. You're not just helping yourself. This isn't for you. This is for others. You are showcasing, you are the example of what Ashrae members are doing and trying to do for others, whether it be soft skills, whether it be technical information, whether it be the rest of Ashrae. So you're actually the shining star here today. We're just a bunch of guys who have done a few things, but you're showing exactly what it means to be an active Ashrae member, giving back and doing more for others. So thank you very much for all the work that you've done. Thank you.
Oh, I thank you, man. It's a pleasure for me.
It's
a pleasure. Yeah.
Also add to what Wade said. Congrats, Guto. This session has been since we started this Let's Talk sessions maybe 2 years ago, John, 2 or 3 years ago. When we started, it was much more technical, and you've evolved the Let's Talk sessions from what it was to what it is now. Congratulations on for all the hard work that you've done. And this is very, very professional. If you're behind the scenes on one, it's very, very professional, like a real interview on TV. Congrats and thanks again for having me. And I look forward to sharing information again in future. And if anyone wants help with their Ashrae bios, please feel free to shoot me an email. I will schedule you in for half an hour and we'll go through it.
Nice, nice. Thank you. Appreciate that, man. Thank you so much.
So I guess now I have to talk, I guess.
No, you don't have to talk.
You don't have to,
you're
John.
looking at me. You're
I
like,
kind of have to.
so you. What now,
Okay.
John? So I think I can't really say more than what they said, Guto. I honestly look forward to the next Let's Talk. So every session that we have, it's always something new, something different. And kind of like what Wade said, you're the shining star. You're really looking. You're bringing out what Ashrae is looking for. That fresh insight, that fresh information. And I hope everyone who sees this video will look at the next Let's Talk about whether it be refrigeration or one day maybe decarbonization. You'll do a Let's Talk about that with Ginger. Or control of infectious aerosols there, whatever it may be. You know, that you really put together this and you're making it fresh and relevant, and you're putting it in the digital age in a way that future generations are going to see it. Because kind of like what Wade said, there's a time when Ashrae bios were on paper and we document everything on paper. Then it evolved to the forms we have, and it's going to continue evolving. You are evolving Ashrae through this method, Guto, and I thank you, and I thank everyone here, and also those viewing this because they're part of that movement, that evolution.
Nice, thank you. I appreciate that. And you that are seeing us on YouTube or some social media, don't forget to hit that like button and sign up for our channel to follow us and another content. That's a good one. So I'm going to conclude that. I'm going to end that recording. Yeah.